What's going on, guys? It is Stephen Delisle Properties in Keller Williams. We are going to do a series where it's Ask Your Realtor. And what I'm finding day in, day out, a lot of questions are whether you're a seasoned buyer or seller. This market is really just too crazy to navigate by itself. So we have some questions that you guys have asked in the, what would you even call this one? So let's dive in. First question, what is an important piece of advice you can give to someone selling their home, and how about someone buying their house? So we're gonna dissect this question a little bit, half and half. What's an important piece of advice you can give to someone selling their home? Selling your home right now is kind of like shooting fish in a barrel, and I'm not concerned as an agent for you to get a contract. Pretty much everybody, I think we could agree, is getting contracts. So the nuances and the value proposition of a selling agent right now is not getting a contract, is not putting a sign out in the yard. You can do both of those things and get a contract. So now it's just about getting the house and the contract from buyer and seller to the closing table. Negotiation tactics to make sure that you know less risky contracts, what terms and negotiation terms from the buyer to the seller are going to be a little bit more appealing to you as a seller, as opposed to putting you at more risk to have a contract fall out. There is 1 in 4 contracts right now falling out of contract through the inspection process. There's a lot of stuff we can do up front as a seller, whether it's a pre-appraisal, get an appraisal before we list it, do an inspection to understand if you've got a crawl space, if we have issues down there that we need to take care of, whether it's moisture content, pest control, things like that. Again, for a value proposition from a seller's point of view is to set yourself up in advance for success based off of what you can do beforehand, knowing that these things are gonna come up through inspection. Now, second, for a buyer, knowing that there are or were 3 markets going on at once in Greenville in different price points. There's different price brackets. Right now, it's pretty much a free-for-all. People are seeing cash offers at up to $700,000 houses, people moving from up north or out of state. There's specific states that are moving and flooding into Greenville. So I think the statistic right now is within the next 3 years, there's gonna be an additional 100,000 people that move to Greenville, as opposed to spread out between 5 to 7 years, which is crazy, especially for infrastructure of what's going to be a good house to buy in what location. And that's really driven by schools, which of course we can't necessarily talk about, and some of the protected classes. However, my overarching idea for a buyer is to know that you're going into a market where there's going to be multiple offers. Knowing that if it's halfway decent of a home in a good location, good school district, that there's going to be at least 5 offers, in some cases 20 offers on one home, A1. So what I always say to people is, if you're gonna sleep on it and think about it, you're not sleeping in it, because things are moving so fast that more than likely the seller is actually going to decide on a contract day 1 or 2, and then you missed out, and then we've got to start the process over again. Normally we would have between 10 to 20 houses to look at to then make a decision for what you want to move into next. Right now, there's only about 5 to, let's say, 8 houses to choose from that are halfway decent, worth buying. And what I tell all my buyers is go in it, take a look. You're buying the neighborhood, you're buying the neighbors, you're buying the house as well. Make sure that it's a house that feels like home. And I'm gonna find a reason for you not to make an offer. Whether it's structural defects, let's say cracks throughout the house in general, whether it's connecting doorways, things like that. I'm not an inspector, don't claim to be, I'm not licensed there. However, I've sold enough houses to be able to understand what to look for red flags, and to maybe pay attention to maybe a crawl space that's a little bit too wet as soon as you open the door, there's standing water, things like that. I appreciate your time, guys, and remember, with Delisle Properties, luxury always comes standard.